Hello and welcome everybody. Today is the first installment in a completely new book called Alice's Adventure in Egypt.
Yes.
It's going to be quite a long book and we're going to go all out in Cthulhu and we're going to go to Cairo. So it is still 1931. We're going to skip a little bit ahead because the season starts in November and you've booked passage on the SS Laurentic, which is a real ship which did do the passage, and you're going to go from New York to Port Said, where we're going to make landfall. Port Said in itself isn't very interesting, except it's a port. And you have been speaking to, well, probably she's your friend. You would say that probably Pamela is your friend?
Yeah.
Your friend Pamela Baxter Strauss, and she's given you some information on where to stay. So you've booked yourself into the Continental, where you have booked a suite. So that's a self-catering suite, so it's less expensive than if you were to take the meals in the hotel every day. But of course, you can make use of the amenities like the restaurants, etc. It's going to be a 2-bedroom suite with a salon, dining room thingy, and there's going to be kind of like a little kitchenette that's kind of like a little bit off to the side. You have informed your parents. They are delighted, but they're also kind of like a little bit sad, even your mum, because you will be away for about 4 months. 4 to 5 months actually, because the passage and then staying there. Have you tried to make contact with Matthew one more time? No.
Well, she wrote a letter that I did not prepare because life, but generally she wrote him a letter that baseline says that showing up by lying is not the way to do this, that she is hurt, that she has the feeling that all the years of being, she thought, best friends, and now he did not even had the guts to tell her in person or even call her and tell her that and involve her in any kind of way. Basically shows her that the friendship is not what she thought it is, but she wishes him well and his wife, and that they can have a nice and lovely living far off in LA.
Good.
And the last words would be goodbye, Alice.
Oh.
So for her, that's the line under friendship. I'm not sure if Matthew will do anything with it, but for Alice, this is like since you are not willing, or we can't talk because you are behaving weird. She doesn't see she did behave weirdly. He is the one. Here the letter. Goodbye. Have a nice life.
Okay. When did you send that letter?
After she saw the note in the papers that he married.
Okay.
Because during the time when he was there, she kicked him out, and that she waited for him to show up and talk to her, which he didn't. So it would be the reaction, seeing that, then that is the last nail in the coffin of my best friend Matthew. That is not my best friend Matthew anymore.
Okay. No, I won't make you roll for sanity on this. Basically,
she drank a lot during writing the letter, I'm quite sure. And I'm quite sure she wrote like 20 different versions before she decided which one.
What did you do with the other versions?
Burning them in the fireplace.
Do you think Dottie would have known?
Yes.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. Poor Dottie. So basically, it rolls around the date of your departure. You've booked passage. The ship is a really big one, and it's got different types of classes. Yep. So there is first class, second class, third class. You're of course in first class. It is quite interesting. I looked at the passenger list of this ship. it was quite interesting to see how many unmarried women were actually traveling. Miss so-and-so, Miss so-and-so, Miss so-and-so. It was very interesting. I have no idea why they would go on their own to Port Said, but anyway, they did. And of course, it's like a hotel. Basically, there are butlers that will look after you. There's also dinner. There is the captain's dinner. There's a gala dinner. We actually looked at one of the real menus, and I mean, it starts off with oysters, and then there is this, and then there is that, and the whole passage takes about 8 to 10 days, depending on where you stop over. You finally arrive in Port Said, and you have probably brought almost half of your possessions because you're going to stay a while.
Yeah.
In the meantime, of course, the question was, what happens to your house? Because you need to lock it up, or you can ask Teresa, who's already working for you anyway, to stay and basically keep the house going.
Yeah.
Then the big question that you raised last week is, what's happening to the cat?
Yeah. So we would definitely have Teresa looking after the house, and I would have been crazy enough to call Mom that, since I'm far away, if I could leave her number in emergencies, if there is anything that needs to be decided. I don't know, the roof collapses, or there's a burglar breaking in, something where the poor girl really is not to be faulted with, and she needs some kind of decision quickly. If my mom would step in, and I guess she would gladly do so.
Yes, she would.
And with the cat, I think Alice would step back and leave the decision to Dottie, because it's Dottie's cat. It's an easy point to say, Dottie, it's your decision, it's your...
Yeah, well, this whole thing
Majesty.
about, now it's your decision, now it's your cat. Dottie would actually prefer not to take Maeve.
I think it's impractical in this case, really. And Teresa, we know, will take good care of her.
And it's also going to be quite difficult. I mean, you can bring them on board, and you would be able to keep them in the hotel. However, you know, it's a long journey.
Yeah.
And what if she escapes?
Yeah.
So Dottie feels that Maeve would be safer in New York City. And Teresa is more than happy to look after the cat. The two of them have bonded in the meantime.
Good.
And so you basically arrive in Port Said. It's the 2nd of November. And it is a very busy port town, port city. But of course, it's also a completely different vibe. You've never been to Egypt, so for you, this is also new. It is very hot compared to New York at this stage. But of course, it's a port city, so there's always wind. And you are surrounded by many people who speak in a language that you don't know, and there are people who are trying to sell you things and so on and so forth. But of course, there are also, I mean, at the moment, the shipping company is still looking after you, so they have basically arranged transfer from Port Said to Cairo,
because a lot of them will go to Cairo.
Yeah, because nobody wants to go to Port Said. Most people don't even want to go to Alexandria. They will probably take a day trip to Alexandria, because Alexandria, you know, founded by Alexander the Great, important, blah blah. But again, Cairo is the seat of the imperial caretaker. So the representative of the British Crown sits there. That's where most of the British army is stationed, police, blah blah blah. And it's the biggest city. Unfortunately, it is a very divided city. You have people in abject poverty, and you have a very small, rich Egyptian upper crust. And then, of course, you have all of the expats. But you've also been given names of people that you should interact with. And Pamela is going to come over as well. Probably by mid-November, she will make an appearance of about 2 weeks. At the moment, she's still in France with her ex-husband. But when you arrive at the Continental, you are greeted by an English-speaking gentleman, whose name is Francis Simmons. No, we're not going to call him Simmons, because that's bad. Francis McDermott. Madame, welcome to the Continental.
Well, thank you.
My name is Frances. What can I do for you?
We reserved a suite on the name of Baker.
Yes, indeed. 2 people. Ms. Baker and... How are you going to introduce your... She's not your servant, so what are you going to tell people who she is?
She would... That's a good question. We would have discussed that beforehand, or on the travel, or maybe no beforehand, because on the ship it would have been already the same situation. It's a question if I would put Dottie in as assistant. That sounds wrong in my mind, so I think Alice would be, that's my business partner. And I think she would have then reserved a suite even on Baker and Williams.
Okay, cool. Okay.
I think if Dottie's not against this, because Alice would be very careful because she doesn't want to go too far for Dottie.
Dottie is fine with this. She accepts it. So basically you are given 2 keys, and a bellhop is going to help you with the luggage, and you are also introduced to, so he gives you a little leaflet, basically, you know, this is where everything, so it's a little map of the hotel. This is where the dining room is, this is where the lounge is, this is where the ballroom is, and the pool and everything. And you basically are shown to your room, or rooms rather. And they are very tastefully decorated. Okay. So it's this kind of like colonial style.
Yeah.
And the walls are decorated with paintings mostly of either things like that. So basically landscapes, Egyptian landscapes, or even streetscapes of Cairo.
Okay.
So, and they're all paintings, no photographs. And you have your salon, you have 2 rooms. So Dottie decides, so basically Dottie inspects the rooms quite quickly. She takes the smaller one, obviously, and she gives the bigger one to you. And then she looks into the pantry and realizes that it's empty, except for milk and tea. So she knows, did you bring your coffee?
We definitely brought coffee and some alcohol with us. Good sure.
Okay, you brought alcohol. Okay, good. So she basically first stacks the pantry with the things you brought, with the provisions you brought.
I could imagine that Dottie 1 or 2 things, like a glass of piccalillis.
Of course,
a few things Dottie would have in her bag as well that we would have. And it's a question, how late of a day is it?
What's your luck?
43.
Okay, so 76.
So it's late then, probably.
Well, it depends on what would unlucky mean to you.
For Dottie, it would be unlucky if she cannot do shopping, so it's
okay,
late.
So it's late. Okay, yeah. Okay, so basically it is kind of late. And Dottie says, "Well, the problem is, Madam Alice, I can't cook. There is nothing here."
Well, the good thing is, dear, we are living in a place that has a restaurant down below. So we had a long travel. We will enjoy dinner as well as breakfast here. And tomorrow we will look around in the city, do some shopping, stock up whatever we need, and then slowly make a plan of what, when, and where we want to be.
Okay. Good. So you go down.
Yeah,
or you reserve a table.
I would reserve a table then for dinner as well as breakfast.
That's not a problem at all. They are delighted.
Clearly,
to
additional money.
Yeah, and you come downstairs and there are lots and lots of people, all white.
Yeah.
A lot of them English. Most of them, you would say. Some French. A couple of Americans as well, and one or the other person that you actually met on the SS Laurentic. Because obviously most of them went to Egypt, and they're staying there as well. And this is really one of the 2 hotels that people really stay at. And dinner is again delightful. You are seated with 2 other people. One is, and I've got a list. I created a list. Yeah, of people actually. Yeah. So these are people from the Laurentic actually. And one of them is a reverend, and he decided that uh, he took a liking to Dottie. The reason is because she's of the wrong faith. He, of course, is a reverend. She's a Catholic.
Poor girl.
So we have where is he? The Reverend Anthony Thomas Ringgold. And then you have Miss Rhoda Remelcam, who's also joining you at the table.
Ringgold and
Remelcam. That's a really strange name.
Ramelcam. That's really a strange name, but I will take it.
Yeah. And they're all in the Continental as well. It turns out that the Reverend is actually here on some R&R, but he is also going to make a trip to Jerusalem, obviously, to visit the sacred tomb. And Miss Remelcam is actually, she is a little bit older. She is not quite your mother's age, but she's already 50, and she's basically just here to for her health. She's got a lung problem, so the dry and warm air in summer is exactly what she needs. And they're both very pleasant, and it turns out she's been here before.
Then Alice would pick her brain as well if there are any things where she's like, you have to do or see this.
Well, I mean, where do I start? Obviously, Egypt, the land of kings, the land of pharaohs, the land of the gods. Well, but I mean, practical things. First of all, you need to check out Cairo. There are plenty of souks where you can do shopping. You can get anything from really lovely perfume to gold jewelry.
Carpets?
Oh, yes, of course, carpets.
Good.
Carpets, darling, carpets. You can even go and visit one of the carpet weaving factories.
That might be interesting.
Yeah, Ziegler have an important factory right outside Cairo, and they do visitors' tours.
I'm just thinking if Alice would pull out her notebook now, but for dinner she wouldn't have had it with her. Although, no, she wouldn't.
But you've got a very,
she
has a very good memory. She will remember this. And also, the lady starts, basically, she takes one of those napkins and starts writing on it. And then she also basically gives you information. There are some shops that cater towards English tourists. So Piccadilly would be there. You can get English tea.
Oh, that's something where Dottie's ears like, whoop.
Yes, and also, you know, the basics, the necessities, and also she tells you all about, you know, where to get books. Yeah. Obviously, English bookshops do exist. So you walk away with a lot of addresses. And then Dottie looks at the list and she says, well, you know, we will definitely have to stock up on the basics. So we need milk and things like that. So they don't have shopping malls, they have open bazaars, and a lot of them have kind of like almost tarpaulin over them so that the sun doesn't beat down too much. And when there is rain, because when there is rain in Egypt, it really rains, it doesn't get flooded. So Dottie makes it perfectly clear that she would prefer to do shopping tomorrow and that food is the most important thing. Even before you do any sightseeing, she wants this to be taken care of.
Well, we can do a trip to market and shopping, and we just divide up and meet again, because I know as well that you are quite annoyed if I'm standing bored next to you when you decide if you want to take this or that kind of
Yeah, well, I have to say that when I decide between 3 different types of butter, your lack of enthusiasm does bring me down.
That's why we go to the same place. They will have also some stands for jewelry or whatever, and then we'll just meet up again.
Okay, so okay, she has no idea. Basically, then you notice one thing: she is really giddy. She can't really go to bed. She is too giddy. So she basically takes a book and she sits in the salon and she reads.
I think after dinner, before we go up, Alice would have a look if Frances is still there.
Frances, Yes. Mm-hmm.
Mr. McDermott?
Yes, madam.
I would just be curious, do you have like a driving company that you can count on? Because tomorrow need to visit a few places.
Would you like to book a car for tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes.
If you could, because
Yes, of
you
course.
know better which ones to trust.
Oh, yes,
Because I am sure here it's the same as in New York City. You should not go with all the cab drivers because some of them will take more than you want.
Well, we do have pre-arranged rates with them. So is it going to be within the city limits?
Yes, within
All
the
right.
city limit.
Good. So when would you like to leave, madam?
Looking over to Dottie, early enough that we can get all the nice things on the market.
Well, madam, this is the land of the hot sun. So if you want to get milk, you have to be really early.
Then it will be really early.
7 o'clock.
That's not early.
He looks at you. We can make it 6.
No, 7 o'clock is perfect. The question is breakfast open before that
breakfast
already?
opens at 4:30.
Yeah, perfect. Then
because we have the ladies and gentlemen who take one of the Nile trips, and the boats leave at 6:30.
Okay, perfect. Then we will have breakfast first, and then.
Very good. So I will pencil you in for breakfast.
Thank you.
And he beams at you, and he says, "And your driver will be Karim."
Then I'm looking forward to that, and she would, like, over the table, give him a little tip.
He doesn't. He smiles at you, and he discreetly puts it into his pocket. And then basically.
And then we would go up to our rooms, I think. And would the room have something like a balcony that you can?
Absolutely. It does have a balcony.
It's evening now. It shouldn't be too hot.
And it is, so basically the Continental is right on Opera Square. And basically there's the opera there. So there is the front of the hotel faces a very busy area. I don't know what the back of the hotel looks like, but in our world, it actually looks out on a garden. Because I believe that there is kind of like a park-like garden that you can also eat outside, that there might be concerts even there, exactly. So, and all of the expensive rooms face outside towards the garden.
Yeah.
So you can. Oh yeah, and they've got peacocks. Nice. And you know the sound that they make. So so you
not
you
so nice, but
but there are peacocks still parading. Of course, this is the closer you get to the equator, the more the day and night is 12 hours each, isn't it? So basically on the equator, it's exactly. So what I have learned, although I've never verified it, but somebody has told me that the further you come towards the equator, the less dusk and dawn there is, but it actually becomes dark quite quickly, and then it becomes light quite quickly.
That might be.
I just imagine it's like somebody's switching off the light when you're on the equator. But this whole golden hour that you would be used to doesn't really exist. When it does get dark, it gets dark really quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. So it would be dark now.
That would be fine. See, at the moment, she would probably pull out a bottle, a new bottle of whiskey from her luggage, and would bring it over, put it on. I can imagine that they still have some like a bar table or something like that also in the suite, because it would fit.
They do. It's probably in one of those globes.
Yeah, I could imagine that. So she will put the bottle there. She will grab a glass. She would look over to Dottie. Want some as well?
Why not?
Then she will also only fill in like what you usually should, like a finger. And that's it. And one glass for Dottie, one glass for herself. Although her glass probably has a tad bit more, not much more, a little more. And she would be just like clinking to Dottie.
You clink to Dottie.
Let's have a wonderful time here and a lovely vacation. I will go outside and just enjoy the sounds of the city.
All right, I will read some. And she's got a guidebook of Cairo.
Then Alice, with her glass, would go outside. She would just plonk herself in one of the chairs, would pull over another chair that she can put her feet up, and she would just enjoy that it's still warm.
It is very warm.
But bearable warm.
Yeah.
And just enjoy to see a little bit of lights here and there and hear the sound of the city as far as...
What you have here is, because it's a lot smaller in spite of its size than New York.
Yep.
You can see the sky really well, and you can see the stars really well because the light pollution is a lot less.
And she's probably even more stargazing because that is a view she rarely has.
And it's this dark blue sky. It's like ink, blue ink. You hear the faint noises of the city. You can still hear people walking around. You know, there is, it seems like, well, it doesn't seem like it. In Egypt, a lot of life takes place outside. Because of the warmth and so on and so forth, and there's lots of people talking, but of course here it's a lot more quiet, but you can still hear the faint sounds. And of course it seems interesting that drivers seem to rely more on honking the horn than actually maybe, you know, in New York. So that's that.
In New York they do that quite much probably as well.
Yeah, and you hear the peacocks, and you also hear the midges that are flying around. And yeah, it's getting quieter and quieter as you sit there. And it's warm. It's like a soft blanket. That's the type of warmth you have. And there is a little bit of wind, so you feel well. It's nice. This is good.
The main point.
This feels like
relaxing,
a
vacation, just really being in the moment and just waiting until she's tired enough that she goes to sleep.
Well, I think
it will take a bit.
It will take a bit because obviously there is, maybe even for somebody who has traveled as much as Alice has, there is still a little bit of adrenaline. Okay, the journey was very long, but now you are where you wanted to be, and now it's...
Yeah, and I think even with travels, also time difference is still messing probably a bit, even though you're not as nowadays with plane, but still you need a bit to catch up with the time.
Yeah.
But I think after a little bit, especially when the glass is empty, she would get up, would wash up the glass.
Dottie is still awake and reading.
And then Alice would, well, I'm going to sleep now because early morning.
She looks at her watch and she says, I don't know. I mean, yes, maybe. And she basically then is trying to be sensible. She puts away the book.
If not, read, take a blanket, and if you're just tired, plonk your head down.
That won't do.
I can say it does, but you need to decide how and where you want to sleep.
Yeah, but then you are somebody who also falls asleep with her head on a wooden table on top of a map.
Yes. Also place you can sleep.
Yes.
The couch is a nicer place.
There was an imprint of the wooden table on your face that day.
I know.
Yes. It looked funny. Yeah.
Was worth it.
Was it?
Not really, but well.
There you are. So let's go to bed. And
Okay.
she goes to bed as well. Next morning.
Yes.
Rise and shine. 5:45. Breakfast is at 6. No, actually, no. You don't have to have breakfast at 6 if you leave. When did you leave?
7 o'clock. No, 6 o'clock
Yeah,
breakfast
6 o'clock,
is a good
breakfast,
time because
yeah.
then we can go for breakfast, get back up, pack the last stuff, and then be ready for being picked up at 7.
In a quarter of an hour.
Alice will... I think it's quite easy for her to get up because it's exciting, it's new, it's adventure, it's and they were not too stressed the last days, to be honest.
No.
Even though it was traveling, but generally she will be up surprisingly quickly, and will join Dottie. She would wear the linen, light, nice clothing that she stacked up when she was in New York City, based on everything that Pamela told her. And she would have made sure that Dottie got also light clothing, although we would have maybe asked if they would have colors that are not that white or light cream color, but more a bit brownish, grayish, darker ones, but at least the linen.
Yeah, she is now, of course, concerned freckling. that's going to be an issue because there's going to be a lot of sun.
Well, Pamela said wearing a hat is important, and having an umbrella with us against the sun is also not the baddest idea.
Okay, so you go downstairs. She is wearing linen. It is brownish, kind of, but she kind of, you gave her one concession. That was she can decide on the skirt length.
Yes. I will not fight.
And it's a lot longer than yours.
I'm wearing trousers.
Of course you are. So, yeah.
Dinner would be with maybe a skirt that is too short, but
having said this,
daytime trousers.
You have also bought trousers for her,
Yeah.
at least 2 pairs, because you wanted to go kind of like on safari exploring, and there she needs trousers because it's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
She's
no,
going to
no.
wear a skirt in the desert. Okay, so you arrive. It's continental breakfast. Sorry, what am I saying? It's English breakfast.
English breakfast.
You can choose from it, or you can have continental with, like your toast and stuff. It's your
Alice
decision.
would at least give the coffee a try. You should judge it first before you make a final decision.
What's your luck?
43.
It's good because you live in the land of coffee now.
Alice is quite happy
You
about
can
that.
notice that it's I would want to say it's mocha-like, like this really good
Rich,
coffee, this really rich, creamy coffee. And Dottie tries it and she says, I will have to talk to the cook because I would really like to know how they did this. This is brilliant.
Alice,
it really is
Alice
brilliant.
would sit there with she would be having an extremely happy smile in her face, just holding to the coffee cup and, okay, we are in paradise, aren't we? This is...
Yes. And as soon as a waiter steps into sight, Dottie raises her hand. The waiter is also, they are native Egyptians, all of them, and he approaches and he says, Madam, and she says, I just must ask, this coffee, how is it made? And he just gives her this wide smile and he says, well, madam, it's all in the preparation. And she says, can I speak to whoever prepared it? And he said, I'm pretty sure she would be delighted to speak to you. And she says, now. And what do you do? She actually, he looks a little bit surprised, but then she says,
just remember to be down there at 7.
Well, I hope that she can explain to me in 20 minutes how to make coffee.
See you later. Alice would just lean back with the coffee. She would have only some toast, maybe with a little bit of egg. And would nibble on the toast and would just enjoy the coffee.
There
Probably
are different
ask
types.
for a
There's
different
poached, there's egg benedict, you have unique.
I think she would have a poached egg and some toast.
Okay. You go back, get ready.
Yep.
No, Dottie's nowhere to be seen, but she is there. She meets you and Harim at 7 o'clock. Harim greets you and he says, I will be the driver for the day, madam.
Okay. From upstairs, I would have brought Dottie's hat and the umbrella.
She smiles at you and she says, excuse me, I have to give him instructions. And she turns to the driver. This is not the Dottie that you remember. She's a lot less reactive.
That's good.
And she says, excuse me, I have a list of things that I would need to buy that is not on the shopping list. And she hands him a piece of paper and he says, oh yes, that won't be a problem. We will just, that is fine. I know, I have a cousin who sells this.
Like it is.
And she smiles and you drive into town.
Yeah.
And then she says, so I need to do food shopping. Madame here will do something else.
I will just take my time. How long do you need? When should we meet up?
You have been driving around and she has seen the food stalls. Every time she saw one, her eyes got wider. Asking her how long she'll take is probably going to be met with forever.
Let's at least meet up in like 3 hours and decide if you want to go on shopping or not. Just a quick touch point here.
Harim looks at the two of you and just smiles. And he says, so the young lady is going to go shopping for food.
Mhm.
Plus, then we will talk to my cousin. What about you, madam?
I will just go over the market and see what jumps at me.
Will you be all right?
Yes, I will be very much. Thank you.
And he looks at Dottie. Will you be needing help with the parcels? Probably yes. Madam, I will go with your young friend here.
Please help my partner out. That is definitely more to carry than maybe my little bit here and there that I might find or not find.
So you basically decide that he's going to park. I mean, basically parking means he just puts down the car and gets out.
So the main idea is that Alice would be then we meet at the car in 3 hours just to have a checkpoint.
Yeah. So there is one very, very, very big souk, which is almost half a borough.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically lets you out at the entrance of this,
Mm-hmm.
and you can buy everything there. Even though you're not there for food shopping, you still smell food, you smell coffee, you smell all of the spices.
I think Alice still enjoys it, especially the spices, trying new things out. But also Alice would be more relaxed if Dottie is not next to her, because they have a very different scope of what to do and what to try and how to do. So probably they will meet here and there on the market, say hi and move on, and that's it.
So the spices, when you look at them, they're little mounds of every different spice. So there is paprika, there is they do have curry, because they imported it for the English, so they do have curry powder. But they also have, like,
cinnamon. They should have as well.
Yes.
Cardamom, obviously.
Yeah. But also frankincense and myrrh, which of course is used for all kinds of, like also that religious groups would use. I mean, all the Muslims as well. I mean, it's not just a Christian thing to burn incense. Then of course there is lots of perfume. Licorice. And wonderfully dyed cloth.
Yeah, I think
shawls, that kind of thing, like the really light ones.
Yeah.
And carpets and gold. And of course the tacky, more touristy kind of, I've been to Egypt and I bought this Anubis statue. And basically you can buy whatever you like.
I think for Alice, main goal is just to soak everything in and enjoy, because it's the first day. We can come here any day to really shop. So it's more like scanning what is there.
Make a spot hidden.
Success?
Good. How hard?
Just a normal success.
Okay.
It was a 57, so.
Okay. You scan everything.
And she will stop at basically every stand, just looking, seeing when she can taste something here and there. She would also taste some things. I think at the when she finds some of the like a light scarf or something like that, she would get weak and buy something. Probably two, one for Dottie, one for herself. For Dottie, more muted, and for herself, it would be in a bright, shining color.
You pass by somebody who is who basically has like a little tray in front of them, and on it is are little cubes of something that is white and kind of seems to have almonds in it. Turkish delight.
She would at least pay for one to try, and she's trying quite a few things here and there.
Yeah. So Turkish delight, I love it. I think it's great.
I like it.
I was thinking that you mightn't, but Alice gets to know it,
and Alice would love it for sure.
And yeah, and then you notice that your purse is missing as you're trying to pay for the Turkish delight.
Alice would look around. Would retrace her steps backwards, and she would look out for children, young people, or anyone who looks like a pickpocket.
Make a luck roll.
Nope.
Nope.
The rest of the how many hours she has, she will circle the market to really look for, because
Okay.
admitting to Dottie that that someone stole from her. Alice would have been. She wouldn't have all the money. Most of the money.
No.
Most of the money is in the Continental. I'm quite sure it would have a small safe as well, just in case
Plus,
to be safe.
you would of course be able to withdraw money, so you wouldn't have taken all of the money with you, but you can actually do a bank transfer.
She would clearly have some money
Yes.
because shopping. So she would be quite annoyed because in New York City no one is able to steal from her. So she's like, how on earth did they manage to do that here?
Make a spot hidden.
So she's really searching now. So she's ignoring all the stands. She's really looking for. No, she doesn't.
Your target rolled a 20.
Yeah, I have an 85, so nope, looking past them.
You can make
by.
an intelligence roll now for me.
Then let's see if I have intelligence. Doesn't feel like it. I have intelligence.
That's a hard success. Okay, so I will give you the following information. You do remember that there was someone and it was a child, and you think you could recognize them if you saw them again. So you have one more chance to make a spot hidden. Of course, this is now an hour later. You're circling.
Yeah, it's shortly before the 3-hour mark, probably.
And of course, there are people saying, a lovely rug for the lady.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Ooh.
That's a 28. That is a hard success.
55, yes, you catch them. You see them. It's a young boy.
I would try to sneak in from the back.
Okay.
And just grab them on the scruff.
Then we will. Yeah, stealth.
It's a success, a 39.
Yeah, so 54. I'll give it to you. He does not notice.
Then I would show up behind them, just like grabbing them.
Hey! And he turns around.
I think you might have slipped your fingers into my things.
What? No, what are you saying? By Allah, I would never do that.
Well, I would just guess that it fell down and you picked it up to wait for me to get it back, because you're a good boy, obviously.
Intimidate? or something?
Persuade?
Yeah, persuade, yes.
Because she's trying to...
Oh, he rolled a 100.
She's trying to give him the door out without losing his face.
Oh,
that
yes.
is a success.
Yeah, so he rolled a 100. He is probably completely surprised because you found him.
Yeah.
And he says, and yes, you dropped it, madam. I was looking for you, but
she will then let me give you Finderlohn of English.
It's a very good question.
That's a good question. Like what you give someone if they find someone, you give them a little bit of money at least as a thank you. I have no idea how you call it in English.
Finder's fee?
Maybe something like a finder's fee. Sounds good.
Finder's fee.
Let me give you a finder's fee. Thank you very much. And she will let go.
Okay.
Open her purse and would give him, oh God, how much?
I don't even know what. I think it's piastre.
I'm not sure
Is
what
they
are.
Is the currency.
I could imagine you could even pay partly there in dollars as well.
Yeah, he would probably love dollars.
I think she will make a mix of a little bit of local things and then a few dollars as well.
A few dollars, that's
yeah,
very much.
It's quite. I think she would do like $1 and whatever is same-ish version. Then
he can go home early today.
Yeah, but at least she has to rest for herself again. So and give it to him, and well, thank you for finding my purse and teaching me a lesson to be more careful.
He looks at you and he says, beware of pickpockets, madam.
Thank you very much. She would just scruffle his hair and have a nice day. And
he bows very deeply.
Alice will probably whistling quite happily, now put everything really deep inside her clothing, so someone needs to unclothe her to get to everything.
Yeah. You will probably not try.
Or she would rather put it, probably the usual women thing, up here, just inside, so that no one gets there. And then she would look at the clock, probably noticing that slowly she should turn back to the car, and then she would walk over to where the car is parked.
Okay, you approach the car. Karim looks slightly not put out. He is buried under parcels.
Do you need help?
No, madam, I can manage. Dottie is also kind of like loaded down like a little donkey.
Oh, come on, you're both loaded. Give me at least a little bit to help here. I will eat at least half of it.
Dorothy looks at you, Dottie looks at you, and she says, yeah, you can take this, and she gives you a very small parcel.
She will get a stink eye, and I will grab other parcels if they want it or not. The question is, are we done, or do you need more time?
Karim looks at you quite, and he's like, I think I hope we're done. Dottie kind of looks at him exasperated, and she says, I didn't even manage to get into half of the shops that I wanted to go in, because Karim here felt it was too much.
Well, the thing is, we also need to get through all of... We can get here tomorrow again, or the next day. It's not that we never have the chance to get here again. You use up everything in one day? No, you put it a little bit here and there, so you have something for the whole trip.
Karim looks at you very, very happily, and he says, you can book me every day. It's not a problem. My name is down at reception. I'd be happy to... I would be happy to drive you again.
What do you think? Let's bring that back. Then we can grab some lunch. Or you make lunch, whatever you want.
Of course I'm making lunch. Why do you think I was shopping?
So you have enough for that?
Barely, but yes.
Okay, then let's go back, and then we can
Karim looks
have another
very
check-in
relieved.
tomorrow here.
And then she says, so how did it go for you? I've been warned against pickpockets, so you might really want to keep your purse to yourself.
Yeah, I can confirm that is the case here. I barely managed to get my money back.
She can't keep her composure at 98. She laughs out loud and she giggles. She has the giggles for the rest of the journey.
Oh, great. So we are loading everything.
You will never live this down, Alice.
No, I know. So we will put everything in a car.
You drive back.
Alice would probably give poor Harim, while we load in, she would just hand a little bit of money over and would just whisper like, thank you very much.
She's a power shopper.
Yes.
Is she always like this?
Yes.
Oh dear.
But she's an amazing cook. She makes marvelous things out of things like that. So it's worth it.
Good. Well, yes. I believe you're in for a treat. Because I know what she bought.
I am curious to try, because I tried a few things on the market, and now Alice would be more in chit-chatty again. You have lovely things around here, so...
He agrees, and he tells you about licorice and, and whatnot. And essentially, you arrive. He helps you bring up the parcels, of course. He will not let anyone else touch them.
Okay.
And then he...
I could imagine at least that the hotel staff is nice enough to give him one of the shovey wheelie things where you can...
Yes, the bellhop gives one of those
exactly.
things. Yeah, and basically you bring it up. I mean, everyone in the hotel looks at Dottie and her shopping, because that's more like... Is she trying to open up a shop?
Nope.
Is she going to start selling from her room? Some raised eyebrows there. And
I
then
think Alice would also have an eye on if Dottie would be also by now clever enough and good enough to know that she needs to tip that poor guy. If not, she would stand in, but actually Dottie would be the one.
She does.
Okay.
Yeah. And she then basically says, Alice, I will have to look after lunch. Please don't disturb me.
Just yell if you need help. I can set the plates.
Would you like a coffee?
If you have time for it. If not, I can wait.
she opens the parcel,
Mm-hmm.
one of them, and it's a coffee maker.
Ooh.
And it is coffee, it's mocha cups. They're in a wonderful light porcelain with a blue rim.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really tasteful.
Mm-hmm.
Do turn it over and look.
If I can get my hands on it, yes.
Yeah, sure, she's placed it on the
Yeah.
table. It's bone china. It's not just any old china, it's bone china. And she then proceeds to make coffee.
Mm-hmm.
She has also bought coffee, and even when she opens the box, it smells very different from even the best coffee you would be getting in. He ground it while I was looking. He's got the beans. He will grind it for you.
Oh, that is something we don't have in New York.
No. And then she makes coffee, and it is 7.
Oh wow! She listened to every
She listens to everything, because I was afraid that the first one might come off too bitter, but she actually did listen, and she has good cooking skills, and this is for her.
And she generally knows coffee as well, so.
She has, I think, 30 something in cooking, so that's 07. That's a hard success.
Or critical, probably even.
Yeah. And it is marvelous.
I would just take my lovely cup of coffee and go outside. Please yell if you need anything, if I should set the table or help you unpack, whatever.
I would prefer if you just stayed out of my hair.
Then I'm on the balcony.
Yes. And she starts doing the Dottie thing.
Alice will definitely get out. She will grab a book, probably also like a guide again, just to double check a few things.
Mm-hmm.
And she would sit outside, although it's noontime, right?
Yeah. Oh, there are parasols.
She will still sit outside and just to see if it's bearable, or if it's too hot, she can still go inside.
65, it's pretty hot.
Okay. She will sit there for like 15 minutes just, and then she will decide to sit inside.
You proved a point. It is possible to sit outside, although maybe not advisable.
And then she goes, because, well, my coffee never will get cool here, but well, she will go inside and she will sit down on the couch, and sip her coffee and go through the book.
Well, it's basically a guidebook of Cairo.
Mm-hmm.
So the interesting thing is, can you give me you see the Call of Cthulhu book on the left?
Here?
There's a binder next to it. Yeah. No, the other one. This one, yeah.
Okay. Here
so, the thing about Cairo is, remember how we said they are probably not going to play golf? I was wrong. There was a golf course there.
Okay.
And they also play tennis.
Tennis is a big thing, yeah.
Yeah. And you learn about, so basically there are a couple of things that they recommend, depending on what it is that you're interested in. So for example, there's the Omar Khayyam Casino.
Mm-hmm.
There is also the Al-Ajur University, which is famous for its collection of books.
Mm-hmm.
You also have the Royal Opera House, the Museum of Egyptian Antiquities, which is a must. That is where Tutankhamun has been.
I think that would be high up in the list. That would be also high up in the list for Dottie, I'm quite sure.
Yeah, and then of course there's the Garden City, which is basically a part of the city where there are lots of gardens, but it's also where the upper crust lives, and there are several government buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a wonderful park area.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is the island of Gizira, which is basically part of the city, and it's in the Nile.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a complete island. There are plenty of bridges leading there, and it is where you can play croquet, cricket, tennis.
Mm-hmm.
It's got extensive parks and also an aquarium. Yeah,
that would also be something for Dottie.
Yeah. And then you hear about the Fagala, which is the poorhouse of the city, but also, interestingly enough, the place where all of the booksellers are. And the reason why they're there is because they would, for them, books would actually be sheets of paper, and you go there and you say, I want this one, I want this one, I want this one, I want this one, and then they will bind it. And the book binders are in the poor part of the city because it stinks.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, in the Fagala, where you would probably not want to go alone, that's if you want to buy books, that's where you go. And then of course there are also kind of like ladies beware, because there's also the Red House, which is a down and out brothel where the fathers sell their daughters, and then there's the Blue Lotus. It's the opium den.
No, that Alice might be tempted in one way, but in the other way, she's by now knowing that is not the best place to be.
Yeah, and of course you live on Opera Square, so if you want to go to the Royal Opera, it's basically down the road, or actually across from where you are. And so basically they also have like a map, and you can actually sketch out a really nice walk, if you like, to take in some of the sites in the areas that are really safe, where there is, well, I mean, let's put it this way, okay, this is 1930s, where everyone's white.
Yeah.
And then after a good while, Dottie comes into the salon and says, we can have dinner now, lunch now, I'm going to lay the table. She brought an apron. And she's of course changed. She's not wearing her outdoor clothes. Now she's wearing the stuff that she would wear in the kitchen at home, because when that gets dirty, it doesn't really matter. Because although the linen are cream colored, it's still her outdoorsy clothes.
Alice is a bit like, I did not check if we have anything for breakfast. It's my thing to do breakfast.
Well, I brought all of the staples.
Good.
So you can make pancakes, you can make eggs, you can make whatever you like. It's all in the icebox.
The only thing that you are on coffee duty, my dear, because I don't think I can do that, although you should teach me as well.
Oh, I will. You have so much to learn, Alice.
You know, I learn quite quickly.
Keep telling yourself that, dear. Maybe one day you'll believe it.
I will make better coffee than you.
That's a challenge, and I accept it.
Then we have a coffee cook. Pamela will have to be the judge. Poor Pam.
Cook-off. Who makes the better?
Who makes
Choose
better coffee?
wisely, Pamela. Choose wisely. The rich girl or her servant.
The thing is, Alice would want an honest answer, and I think Pamela would be honest.
Oh, Pamela would be brutally honest.
She would be brutally honest. If Dottie's is better, she wouldn't blink with telling Alice, I'm sorry, dear, no.
So essentially you have lunch.
Yep.
It's a light lunch. It's actually cold because it's very warm outside. So,
yep.
Well, tonight, I mean, this is one of the downsides, and I will be upfront with you. If you want meat or fish, we will have to buy it immediately before preparing it.
Yep.
So tonight I was thinking we could have couscous.
Sounds good.
And then she names a couple of, like squashes and local vegetables. And she's going to make kind of like a couscous kind of vegetable stew thingy. And then she says, all right, so what do you want to do for the rest of the day?
That is a good question. So it's a question if you want to go back to shopping or if you just want to take a walk and see a few things.
Well, I think I will have to do some shopping tomorrow evening, and I've already talked to Karim where I can get meat. So I have an address. I'm going to go there. He's shown me where it is, and we've already put in an order for lamb shanks. Apparently lamb is the go-to meat in this country.
Good.
So today I would suggest we just go for a walk.
Then?
The two of you.
Yeah, we will follow one of the guides' roads that...
And the thing is, it is a very different culture. So like I said, everything's happening outside. People are constantly talking. People are talking quite loudly as well. You hear yalla, yalla all the time. Traffic, that's not traffic. That's just crazy people behind steering wheels. So we're unlucky. She gets almost run over by a car. She doesn't curse.
Oh,
She's close.
she's close.
At 62. But it is simply, I mean, you're not, are you trying to take insights, or are you just drifting? Kind of like taking in.
For Alice, it would be taking, and she would have shown Dottie like the route and the map, and I'm honestly tempted to say Dottie is probably following the map. And from time to time needs to like pull Alice with her, because Alice is really drifting and she's just soaking in everything. She's enjoying this so much because it's different, it's new, and she doesn't care that it's warm and loud and full. She's just enjoying every single bit.
For Dottie,
looking at every house, every person, everything that is near her, next to her, in front of her, everything is scanned, and she's really trying to. So good.
For Dottie, it's actually a lot more stressful, because this whole thing, she doesn't understand what people are saying. It's very loud. It's completely not how she would have been brought up. Speaking in public is something that you don't do. Speaking loudly in public is something that you definitely don't do. And also, you are constantly beleaguered by people who are trying to sell you something. It's like grabbing you on the shirt sleeve, and madam, and for her, it's stressful. What you do notice, the buildings, the traditional buildings are quite tall, maybe 3 stories, ground floor 2 stories, and then whitewashed, and then you have those wooden balconies that jut out, the really small ones where you can go, that looks really rickety. I hope nobody ever. But of course, people sit on it.
Obviously.
Yeah. And also, you notice that men and women are sitting outside, and basically, even like there might be one person sitting on the left of the road and the other person sitting on the right of the road. The road runs between them, and they're having a conversation. Instead of actually getting up and sitting next to each other, they're shouting across. And you also notice something else, which you would also have read about, and that's the tea houses. And in these tea houses, we see, or you see, men, only men, and they're drinking tea, and they're playing. I don't know. Make an idea roll if you know the game. Idea is intelligence, isn't it? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
A backgammon.
Okay.
That's the one thing that they seem, and then you also see the men. They have like those little bead chains which they keep flicking through. So that's something that you notice. And of course, none of them wear Western clothes. They all have those like more kaftan like things. All men have beards. The women are not veiled, but they do wear shawls around, at least like headscarf or even headscarves, but they're not veiled. And you see lots of donkeys as well. So it's like really the absolutely kind of like the cliche Oriental version of Cairo that you're experiencing. Do you buy anything? Do you shop for it? Oh well, do you just grab stuff that's offered?
I don't think so. She would very politely say no, thank you, because she's not here for shopping. And also, she knows well. Don't take just the first thing you see.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's not about being cheap, but getting the right thing.
Yes, that does make sense. Yes.
Just to see who has what to offer, and then make the decision. That is a good place to go.
Okay.
And even if it's more expensive, but if it's that place, and she would have a look. As I said, she would be quite friendly, but she's not on a shopping trip. She's on enjoying and walking around and seeing what we can see. I honestly don't think she's paying too much attention to how Dottie's feeling. Because she's so engulfed in all of this, just taking this in. She would clearly try not to lose Dottie, but she would not pay that much attention that Dottie is maybe not that comfortable, because Alice is enjoying this.
Okay, so you walk around for hours.
I think in between we would also see when we find a garden to sit down, and that would maybe give Dottie also some like.
Yeah, you do find there are like trees, groves every so
Mm.
often. And yes, there are benches because this is English property
Yeah.
and the English put up bench. I mean, this is really true.
Yeah.
Anywhere in England, you can find a bench where you're going to go,
Yes.
why did they put a... But I'll just sit down anyway. So you find benches and you sit down. It's also, I mean, while you are mentally completely on the ball,
Yeah.
it is physically exhausting because it is warm. You're walking a lot and there is lots of people and you
Yeah.
kind of really have to
Yeah.
find a way through them.
Yeah.
So even you are feeling it, but you're still, I mean, like the adrenaline and this is,
Yeah,
oh, this is
it's
new,
all
this
there.
is great, is still buoying you up. Whereas look at Dottie. When you look at Dottie, you do notice that she is a little bit exhausted. She won't let on. She won't say anything.
What do you think about circling back to the hotel? I'm feeling my leg. I don't need to drive, but at least that we slowly get back.
If you were lying, she doesn't notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's lying.
Yeah.
Although she kind of feels it, but it would not stop her.
Yeah,
usually.
no, you did.
But
You're
it would
saying
be
this
like,
to give her.
yeah, to give her and what do you think tomorrow that we maybe do the museum? That should be a nice and calm against this. And I'm really curious about what we can see there. And you looked interested in the museum as well?
Of course.
Then?
Yes, I would love to. But I mean, I'm really concerned about your knee. And of course, she's this close to fussing. But then she realizes you're in a public place, so she won't.
I just need to rest it a bit later on. Just put the leg up.
She takes the map, she unfolds it, and then she plots the quickest route. And then she's basically, yeah, this way. And then the two of you make your way back.
Yes.
But you notice that she's eyeing you and she's looking at your leg and she's basically, she is not trying to fuss, but you can't make her not fuss if you say that there's something wrong.
Alice is walking like she is always walking. She doesn't, because...
Are you actually carrying your cane?
I think for a long walk she would have a cane with her. If it's a short trip, I'm quite sure by now she would go out without a cane. But for a long walk, also where you stand in between or so, she would have the cane. Also, it's quite nice if someone is getting too close that should not get too close to. Because I think for the shopping trip, she did not have her cane with her.
Yeah, but you knew that you were going to do quite a lot of walking.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah. You could even have, instead of a cane, have brought the parasol and use that as a cane because you were going to bring a parasol, which you may not be putting up or opening, but you know, I leave it up to you. So, but you have something that you can lean on.
Yeah, the parasol might be a good idea, but then we would have had enough time. She would have made an order for walking, like a parasol that she can lean onto, but where you can pull out the handle to have like a tiny, I don't want to call it sword, but something like that.
Well, you have connections to someone who's an antique dealer in New York City whose shop you wrecked, but then gave her a reason to redo it, and she would, I think her name was Alex or something.
Yeah, I think
And she basically would have been able to order you something like that because she's able to order you whatever you want.
Yeah,
she has
that
connections.
Would be...
Yeah. She is... Yeah. I think her name was... Elizabeth Tucker. She was Liz.
Yeah, Liz.
Yeah, she was Liz Tucker, antique dealer. Yeah. So Liz would have been delighted. Liz would probably also have asked you if you could, maybe if you ever found an antique dealer there, give them your card.
Yeah, she would for sure.
Yeah, because of course, antiques sell, and if she could get something from India.
Yeah. And
so basically, you return. I would say it's now roundabout because you had lunch till 1. You probably didn't leave in the immediate noon heat, so probably not before 2. So it's probably around 5:30 now, 5:30 to 6 o'clock. You arrive, and the concierge says, Ms. Baker, you've got a message.
Oh, she will walk over. Yes.
And he hands you an envelope. Do you open it?
I will open the envelope.
It's a telegram.
Yeah.
I'm arriving in 2 days. Stop. See you then. I will be staying at the Continental. See you then, Pamela.
Happy squee from Alice. And she would just hand it over to Dottie for her to read. Well, thank you very much.
Dottie looks at it and she says, "That's great.
It is, indeed.
So we can have the coffee cook-off."
I'm not sure I'm fit enough in 2 days to do.
Well, you will just have to try harder.
Well,
I learned it in less than a day.
cook-off it is. But you need to show me tomorrow morning.
Of course. And basically you go back. She is eyeing you, and then she makes you sit down and elevate your leg.
I would give her the chance to just sit down. Should we just have a cup of tea?
Well, how about you sit down and elevate that leg, and I will make some tea.
And then you sit down with me
And
for
I will
a few
sit
minutes.
down with you.
Good.
And
then you can already start to tell me in theory how the coffee is made.
She looks back over her shoulder to see, do you really?
Yeah, I'll really sit down and I will put, honestly, both of my legs up.
Okay, good. So 10 minutes later, she comes back with, and of course, it's fully furnished. So it's exquisite china. It's got one of those sterling silver, you know, those very English teapots. And of course, there are biscuits, because you can't have tea without biscuits. And she says, well, apologetically, these are from a tin. I've not been able to do any baking. And I took a look at the stove. I'll be able to make stew in it, but I'm not sure about baking.
Don't apologize. They are perfectly fine for where we are. Clearly, this
is not going to be a habit. When we're back in New York, I'm going to bake again.
I honestly will ask you to bake again, because your self-made cookies are far better, but these ones are good.
They will do.
Between yours that are amazingly perfect and these are good, we will live with them without problems around.
Excellent. Here. She sits down.
Did you try the Turkish Delight on the market?
I did. I bought some.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yes. She pours the tea. She gives you the drop of milk that you require. And then she says, how's the leg? And she looks at you quizzically over the rim of her tea.
It feels okay now.
Yes.
She
will try an insight check.
Yeah, she can do that.
45.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're not lying. It's okay.
I'm not lying. It's okay.
There was never a problem with it to begin with.
There was never a problem. That's the thing.
She is kind of...
I'm clever enough by now that I know when I should stop before it's getting awful.
Very good, very good.
See?
Because I can already imagine what your mother will say.
I don't want to wreck my leg now. We just arrived. I can do that on the last day. And then I have a long way home where I'm basically not moving anyhow, because on the ship you're not moving that much.
That is true. And then she proceeds to explain to you how to make mocha.
I will listen very closely and try to really get every single bit.
You see, one of the secrets that she told me, and this may be true of every type of coffee, is never use boiling water.
Okay.
So if you're a cook like me, you know exactly when water is not yet reaching boiling point just in time. If you're as inexperienced as you are, the secret is...
I know when water is almost boiling, but not yet. I've boiled a lot of water in my life.
For somebody like you, the secret is you let it boil, then you remove it from the kettle, and you count to 20. And you remove it from the stove, and then you count to 20.
Okay.
She smiles at you.
Alice is not smiling back.
Your dirty looks don't do anything.
I know.
She is impervious to your looks. She's known you way too long. So. And then, of course, I think it's also to do with the way they grind it. Because you did say, I should say, it's going to be for mocha. So, maybe the way they grind it makes it different as well. But of course, I think also the beans are different. I mean, just even, and you notice when you smelled it, the smell was richer. It was more like, almost like a little bit like chocolate.
Maybe they're also roasted differently than the coffee that we
That could
get.
be it. So what we need to do is when we're back in New York, we need to find an Egyptian coffee seller
Yeah.
or importer.
Important. Alice would grab the coffee, basically the bag, and she would look and see if it feels differently from the coffee, because I think it's milled differently as well, I think.
Yeah. So you notice that the coffee grind itself is a lot less. Sorry, it's a lot coarser.
Yeah.
So it's not as powdery.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's... Well, we will find someone in maybe Pamela knows someone. It's worth asking. If not, we will ask around. In New York City, there must be someone who gets this proper coffee. The only problem is I will not drink the other stuff anymore. Well, it's better than nothing, but yeah.
I thought that might happen. I was afraid, but then again,
It's good.
it's very good. And then you basically finish your coffee, and then she says, "Well, I will get started on the stew because I do want it to, because I'm not familiar with all of these vegetables, and I don't want it to be too tough. So I'm going to give it some more time." And she starts.
Then let me call downstairs that we have a driver
Tomorrow
for the museum. It would be the question if the museum is I think it's not nearby. It should be a bit away, I think.
I think you would need a.
Yeah.
I mean, a cab is advisable. Yeah.
Then she would order a cab in the morning, like 9 o'clock-ish, to drive us to the
Yes.
museum.
That's not a problem. You get your driver. You have dinner. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Dottie is. You can see that she is knackered.
Yeah.
And she basically tries to keep up appearances, but then she says, "I think I need to go to bed. I'm tired."
Then have a good night's sleep. I will not get old today either, but thank you for the lovely dinner.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Tomorrow we can start a bit calmly because we are picked up at 9 o'clock for the museum.
Will you be making breakfast?
Yes, although you need to help with the coffee probably.
Sure, we can make the coffee together.
Good.
So the next morning.
Yes. Not sure if Alice wouldn't be up beforehand.
Okay.
Because she would have had an alarm clock or something like that.
Absolutely.
For sure, because there are travel alarm clocks also during that days already. Because even at home, she's not woken up by Dottie to make breakfast. She is getting up making breakfast,
true.
and Dottie gets up.
That is true. That has
so
changed.
Alice would be up already. Not much probably before Dottie, but she would already be standing in the kitchen area and just doing some pancakes and some toast, I guess.
So Dottie comes in and she says, "Looks good."
Still on the way, but how did you sleep?
I slept very well.
Good.
Very soundly, very deeply. And how about you?
Deep and tight. No dreams, no visits.
That's good.
I think so too.
She probably doesn't even know that we've left New York.
Oh, she knows for sure.
You think so?
Yes. I just hope she can't leave New York.
Now, wouldn't that be a kicker?
Well, we will know earlier than we want to if she can make it here.
So, how about coffee? And she starts boiling the water.
I think after all that Alice heard, she would be like, I will try to do it and you can correct if I misunderstood something completely. Not that we ruined this lovely...
Okay, so basically how do you want to do it? Do you want to play it safe and wait for the water to boil, then take it from... Of course not. So please make a luck roll.
It's Alice. No. And a big no with a 19. The water's not hot enough, I could imagine.
You make a spot hidden.
The question is if Dottie would say something. Spot hidden is a success with a 47.
Yeah, you notice how she basically goes, But she sinks down her hand.
She will just swirl the water into the kettle and just have a approving look, and then she would put it back on the fire, and then she would wait until it boils and then count until 20.
Dottie says, very wise, very wise. If you don't know what you're doing, play it safe.
Alice is taking a deep breath, trying not to murder Dottie in her mind. I know what I'm doing.
You left it too late. It boiled.
Yeah, that was my idea.
No, you said you...
That was my idea.
You're lying.
First try did not go well, so why should I risk it again? As I said, the poor coffee, it's not their fault. And if you don't want my breakfast, you can do it on your own.
You're evil.
You too.
That's why you hired me.
It's not really nice to tell someone again and over in the face that they are stupid and cannot cook. Although I'm making breakfast every day.
I'm not saying that you're stupid, and I'm not saying that you... Well, I am saying that you can't cook.
Exactly.
Because...
Okay, I'm taking back. You that's right. You're not saying I'm stupid, but I for sure can't cook. You eat my breakfast every day, and I don't think I'm murdering you every day with the food.
No.
You say breakfast is not cooking, right?
It's not cooking unless you turn on the stove and make an effort. But
The
your
stove is on.
pancakes are an effort.
I get that toast is not an effort, but pancakes and
No,
eggs...
you are cooking, and your pancakes are very good.
It took me long enough, but well...
Well, and we will see. In no time, in about maybe 10 days, you will be able to make really good coffee.
I will have a fantastic coffee out tomorrow because, or latest, I'm not sure, tomorrow Pamela will not be there for breakfast for sure. But the day after, we will have her for breakfast over, and she needs to try.
Yeah, we will see.
Yes.
And basically, you proceed to make the coffee, and it tastes nice. It does taste different than the coffee that you're used to. It doesn't taste as nice as Dottie's coffee, but it does taste nice. So you have your breakfast. You go downstairs. Take the cab. You go to the museum.
Yes.
The Museum of Egyptian Antiquities is exactly that. It is... So... The story is, of course, that lots of stuff was moved from Egypt to both France and Britain. And England, I should say.
Yeah.
However, Tutankhamun is actually physically there. As are all of the areas, all of the things that were found in his grave. Carter opened it and removed it, but he couldn't put it anywhere. He had to leave it behind. So, and Carnarvon was probably annoyed. And I have never seen it myself, but I understand that when you see it in the flesh, it's even more overwhelming than the photos, because it is something that was never seen before and has never been seen since, because it is extremely, even like the monetary value of the sheer gold is amazing. And apparently it was in really, really good condition.
Yep.
Like, there was nothing destroyed, everything, they opened it and it was just there. And Dottie is, of course, I mean, it's overwhelming to see this, and she is totally fascinated.
I think both will be.
Yeah. And do you get a guide, or do you follow a guide?
No, she would ask, because we don't have, like, we need to be out within, so she would ask at the front desk if there are guided tours or a guide they can hire to tell them a little bit more background.
So it is really great. So basically there are also other exhibits. Of course, there are some I would say copies of frescoes that they found inside of tombs. So, you know, and they will basically show, quite often the tombs contain pictures of how the soul of the person who died is then weighed, and then a decision is made that, of course, they can live in the afterlife and that everything will be fine. And you see the different gods. So they're all zoomorphic, anthropomorphic. So we know that they have, like, usually heads of an
Animals,
animal, and
yeah.
the rest is human. So you see Anubis, the god of the dead,
Mm-hmm.
the jackal god, and you see Osiris and Isis, and all of
Yeah.
them, and it is explained. There's also a little bit of an exhibit on how to read hieroglyphs, so just like the basics. So you have the cartouche, which always contains the name of the ruler, and then they tell you how it was first translated using the Rosetta Stone. So you get all of this. These are things that Alice would know, even if she hadn't read up on Egypt, simply because you went to school. So these are things that you do know.
But she would have read up on it
Yeah.
as well, and I'm quite sure Dottie read quite a bit
Yes.
about it as well. So we are probably digging into more fiddly,
Yeah.
smaller things that we could not, or
Yeah.
that was not immediately visible in the books.
And it's you can make a day of this because it's going to take a long time, and it is just a fully packed day, and it's I would say even a great day. There are several people there, but it's not crowded.
Yeah.
So you do have time as well to look at the exhibits in your own time.
Yeah. For lunch, we would just grab us somewhere,
Yeah,
like
there
a
is,
little thing,
yeah.
and then
I would even say that it
might
caters
have-
to tourists.
it might be that I have
There
a
will be
bistro
food.
or something like that. Just I don't know if bistro was a thing back then, but something similar at least, that you can grab something to drink and a small thing to eat.
And then at the end of the day, you go home, but you stop by the market where Dottie is going to get the lamb shanks. You come home. Do you want to do anything, or do you just proceed to the food?
I think just proceed to the food. We
Yeah.
will probably talk non-stop about
Yeah.
what we've seen and discussing things and how amazing that was, and this is unbelievable, but
It is, and Dottie is for Dottie, this is probably even more of a revelation, because she's not as world-wise as Alice is. So for her, this is, of course, the fact that she has left the United States.
Yep.
And she is she's bought of course she's bought postcards, and she basically she's handing two to you.
Two.
Well, one's for your parents.
Yes.
And one's for Matthew.
No.
Please.
No. I don't even I really don't have the address with me. Why should I? Because I'm not. This is done.
If this is a problem, I've got the address.
It's done. I will write one to my parents, and I will see. Maybe the other one goes to. I don't have the names with me.
Penny.
Penny might be. That is. I need a few more postcards, but we can pick them up later. So basically, her inner circle of friends. So the one
that she reserved for Matthew goes back in her pocket.
No. Could I please have it at least for Penny, that I have two of them written down? I will not write to him. Discussion ended.
She's not convinced.
Then tomorrow I'll buy my own postcards, but thank you for picking one for my parents. It's a nice one.
Please.
I will write to my parents, yep.
Okay. How firm is this?
It's definitely Matthew is a done deal for her.
Do you think that Dottie would believe it?
I think yes. She would know when Alice is at a point like, this is just a blank no.
Okay.
It's not like, oh no, I don't want to write to my parents.
Okay.
It's just a blank.
Okay.
Doors closed.
Okay, so basically you go back to the hotel.
I think Dottie even recognized that the topic Matthew is something that she just should not bring up, maybe, because Alice's mood swings to a not really happy way directly. As soon as the name calls, she's getting like angry-lish and blocky and just distancing.
Okay.
So
would you have experienced that before?
Yeah, because I'm quite sure in between the whole time she would have poked in between.
No, but I mean with somebody else. Or is Matthew really something
this is the Matthew.
Okay.
That would be. I think for her it was a learning curve probably over the last weeks. Like, okay, maybe.
Mhm.
And that was her one try where she's like, oh, okay.
Okay. So you arrive.
Yeah.
She makes dinner. It's lamb shanks, and then she will actually say, "Unless there is anything else you need me for, I would actually like to sit outside on the balcony."
Feel free to. I don't think so. I will sit here and write one postcard.
All right.
And
It's dark at this stage.
yeah. And bedtime maybe later on.
Okay. Okay, so she is actually staying outside.
Alice would sit down and write a card for her parents.
Mm.
And then she would grab a book, not about Egypt, just, I don't know, a crime. Definitely crime.
Death on the Nile.
No, she's read that too often. But I don't know. So just a crime book that she brought from home, basically, as reading material for the trip that she hasn't finished yet. I'm quite sure she already started it, and she would just sit down and would read a bit until it's time to go to bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dottie at that she doesn't come back in. She's actually sitting outside.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go to bed, she's still sitting outside.
Okay, I will just stick my head out there and be like, I'm tired. I will get some sleep.
See you tomorrow.
Sleep tight later on.
And give me a POW check.
POW.
Oh, you've got a very low POW.
Yeah, POW is mine. Still a 14. It's a hard success.
Okay.
My spider sense tingle.
No. You wake up next morning.
Yep.
You have your alarm clock. It goes off.
Yep.
Okay. Do you make breakfast?
Yes.
You make breakfast at some point
today.
Yeah. When did you say you were going to wake up? Because you didn't really have any plans for this day.
I think breakfast around 8.
Okay.
So she would be up at 7:30, roundish 7:20. 7:30 the alarm clock would go, so like 10 minutes to move and then
okay. So
20 minutes to make breakfast.
At 8 o'clock on the dot, Dottie is standing next to you. And she says, I'm going to lay the table.
I'm starting coffee. Although, honestly, I'm quite sure Alice would already have cooked the coffee. She would have tried on her own.
Then
today.
let's make a luck roll.
Not a cooking skill roll.
Do you have cooking?
Yeah.
Okay, then make cooking. Make a cooking roll. That's fine too.
Although luck would be better, but anyhow.
Ooh!
A 20, that is a success.
Okay, good.
Because I have a 28 in cooking.
That's good. Basically, it's this time round, you take it away before it starts boiling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good coffee.
It's not perfect yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah, you're getting there.
It's not
you're
a 7.
Getting there.
It's not a 7.
No, it's not a 7. And so the day passes. And you know today Pamela's going to arrive.
Well, the question is what we do today. That would be the main question. I think Alice would ask Dottie if she would be in to visit the aquarium.
Yeah, she would.
Then that would be the goal, I think, after breakfast.
Mm-hmm. You make it to the island of Gizira, and you go to the aquarium. And the aquarium is full of fish tanks, as one would expect. And I will say this. I don't know if this is accurate, but I would say it's basically local Egyptian type, like I would say that there are probably some, possibly even turtles and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there's also lots to learn. Information on this is what the Nile does, blah, blah, blah. The Nile floods once a year or twice a year, blah, blah, blah. And it is both entertaining, but also educational.
Yep.
And of course, this is the island where there are many parks, so you can have your lunch in a park. It's cool under the trees, sycamore trees, whatever cypress is cypress.
Cypress.
Yeah, like the island.
I think so.
Would make sense, wouldn't it? Yeah, cypress. Probably they have cypress trees.
Cypress trees, yeah.
And basically, it's a really good day.
You
go home.
Yes.
And make a luck roll.
No.
No.
99 is far away from being lucky.
Okay, so you get your keys.
Yeah.
Do you ask?
Yes, I would ask if Pamela by now would have arrived.
Yes, madam, she has.
Good.
And he smiles at you.
You're probably not allowed to tell me which room she's in, right?
Well, I mean, maybe this letter will tell you. And he hands you a message.
Ooh, I will unfold the message.
And it's a handwritten letter from Pamela saying, Alice, I have arrived. Will we have dinner together? I'm in room, and she gives you the room number.
Mm-hmm.
It's a suite as well.
Well, thank you very much. And on the way to our suite, she would share with Dottie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have enough that we can invite Pam as well?
Of course.
Good. Then let's stop by her suite and just knock and invite.
So you knock on the door.
Yep.
You hear the very familiar husky voice of Pamela Baxter Strauss. Come.
Alice will open the door and just peek in, but making enough space that Dottie is visible in the back as well.
Well, Pamela is sitting on the settee, smoking, wearing something more or less outrageous.
So perfect in Alice's mind.
Absolutely. And she looks at you and she says, if it isn't the incredible Alice Baker.
If it isn't a stunningly beautiful Pamela.
She gets up. She graciously embraces you, kisses you on both cheeks.
She will get that back.
She says, and Miss Williams. And she extends her hand and she says, I hope she's not been keeping you too busy. And she looks at Alice. And
we're keeping each other busy at the moment, as it seems.
Yes, but you're a handful.
Excuse me.
Well, you know that I'm right.
Well, we all know that you're right, but well. We wanted to ask if you want to join us for dinner. We got a few things. Why am I saying we? Dottie got really nice things, so...
She looks at Dottie and she says, Dorothy, would that inconvenience your plans? And Dottie's like, no, of course not. Well, then I will accept gladly. And I shall bring something as well.
Then we will let you to just arrive in peace and quiet, and we will see you a bit later.
Oh, I've arrived. And she points to the table, and you can see that she's been drinking already.
I brought a few good things from home as well, just to be safe and sound.
I brought a few things from France.
Your things win, because they are definitely harder to get than our stuff.
And she smiles at you, and then she says, when shall I make an appearance?
Alice will look at Dottie.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
And Pamela says, duly noted.
Perfect. Then we will give her the room number, obviously, as well. And then for 7 o'clock.
And Dottie is now probably fussing even more over the food than she is when you are on your own.
Alice would, in between, try if she should at least set the table, and probably is getting told off that she should not dare to do this.
You will be hosting.
No, we are hosting, dear. You are equally here as I am. You are the amazing cook, yes, but I can lay a plate on a table.
It just doesn't seem right.
You're not my...
Have you noticed that she's not traveling with anyone? She doesn't even have servants. I've never seen a servant.
You are not a servant either, so I can put a plate on the... I will do the table.
All right.
You can criticize if I have something wrong on the table, because I'm sure you will find something, because I'm not perfect in that, but at least roughly everything is already there where it should be.
She looks at you and she says, no, because I know that you know from your mother how to lay a table. And I've seen you do it.
Yeah, I'm just not as perfectly straight as you and Mum are.
Do you know what I think? Miss Baxter Strauss couldn't care less. She's here for your company.
But you should be fine with it as well. So I will try to give my best.
Well,
if she's carrying out
as
the
long
plates,
as you're trying.
And she will try to make it really neat and nice.
And you make it neat and nice. And at 7 o'clock.
I will go to the door, just opening it.
Pamela comes in. She has changed since then. Since you last saw her.
Alice has also different clothing on.
She has a top that is see-through, but of course she's wearing something underneath. It's not what young ladies or any form of lady would ever wear, but it looks stunning.
As always on her.
If anything, she has grown in beauty. And she basically hands you 2 bottles of red wine from my ex-husband's vineyard.
Well, then extra.
And she says hello.
Then greetings back and thank you for this. We will enjoy drinking it.
Well, let's just sit down and you tell me all your news. Because there's nothing new with me. I spent 3 lovely months with my ex-husband and his wife and their children, and it was fantastic.
We will sit down. Alice would open one of the bottles, fill in 3 glasses, also for Dottie, and she would sit down. Well, there is not that much to tell. I can give you a little bit of gossip back from New York.
Oh, please do.
Then she will give the latest gossip that she heard before she left, like, these are now together and these one seem to be, and he's definitely having something with her, and I think. And yeah, and then she would go over to what they already saw in the city and
very good
experience so far.
Well,
so what are your plans around here, dear?
I have an invitation.
Oh.
For tomorrow, and I wanted to know if the 2 of you might be interested in coming along.
You know, for me it's always a yes, whatever it is, but Dottie is probably maybe wanting to hear what we are saying yes to.
Well, I have been invited to spend the evening with a dear old friend, and by old I just mean we do go way back. Her name is Clarice Thompson, and she is...
I think that name you already mentioned.
Yeah,
that's the connection that has to society.
Yes, she is a socialite. She's also kind of like she writes travel pieces for those, like those. They had women's magazines, but they're different from today's women's magazines. A lot of them deal with a lot of also topical questions, you know that I told you about her, but she's had some sad news. Her father passed away recently, the old major. And so she has invited me to dinner tomorrow, and I said that I might bring 2 friends that I want to introduce her to, and she would be delighted if the 2 of you came along.
If we're not interfering, we would love to.
I think she would want the company.
Then?
I mean, she has expressly said so. It will just be us, so it won't be a party, but and she's a very good contact to know, because she knows everyone, and she's lived here for almost 25 years. She came as a child when her father, who was in the British Army, and was posted here. Her mother is out of the country. She's looking after a maternal aunt.
We are glad to join you too. And Dottie, maybe tomorrow in the market we should grab a bit of Turkish delight for after.
Oh, she would love that.
That we have a little bit.
And she and you have a lovely evening.
Yeah, and I would ask Pamela anyhow if she has anything new, even though she said no. But it would be like catching up. How is the ex-husband doing? And
he's doing well. I mean, you know from previous encounters that he is what is called a media tycoon. So he is really rich.
Yeah.
And she is basically the crazy aunt that looks after the children, and so basically she does kind of like the babysitting, so the 2 of them can have time to themselves. She lives in that, it's like a chateau kind of thing with a vineyard, and they have like one of those small houses that's kind of like self-contained, a little bit like the house the Prices would have lived in at your school. And it turns out that since they got divorced, she would have been spending time there on and off anyway. So this is not a new thing. She would also go there when the 2 of them aren't there. So he's basically given her keys to that little chalet kind of thing. And they are, and I mean, the thing is, in Europe, the scars of the First World War have worn off, but you have plenty of veterans, people that would have fought in the war, and he's got a brother that fought in the war, and then of course there were the Roaring Twenties. And what I didn't realize, but I found out, is that Josephine Baker actually made her name and her fame in Europe.
I know.
I didn't, and apparently she was there at the time. So in the 30s, she would have been in France, and
especially in Paris.
And they would have been, I mean, when you are in France, you have to go to Paris because France is so centralized. So she would have also spent some time in Paris, where he has, of course, a beautiful flat somewhere in the middle of Paris, and she would tell you about opera, she would tell you about theater, things like that. So because she may not, lots of people may not think she's cultured, but she is.
She is.
She is, and she's interested, and she knows things, and she enjoys art. She enjoys, of course, I mean, William Perkins, and she would have, told you about it, and
I think between culture, enjoying it, learning from it, and sticking to the social rules, that's a big gap.
And she is somebody who likes art. And then, after several hours, she leaves.
We definitely killed the one bottle. I'm not sure if we even killed the second.
Well, she tells you that there's more.
Okay, we killed the second as well.
You killed the second.
Yeah.
And then, she leaves. She says goodbye to Dottie, who she continues to call Miss Williams. And then she leaves.
I will bring her to the door and wish her a very good night. Get home safely. Probably we can see the door from where we are. And
a bientôt.
See you tomorrow.
And well, she will probably not cook herself. She will probably eat in the restaurant. And then Dottie says, "Well, that was a nice evening, wasn't it?"
It was. I'll probably have a headache tomorrow, but it's worth it.
She looks at your head and she knocks on it and she says, "Ah, well, too heavy."
It's good red wine, but
too much of a good thing.
Well, it's a wine that might give us a headache. We will see.
And do you go to bed?
Yeah, we will clean up a bit. And
she will not actually let you clean up. She will take the dishes from you.
Can I at least bring a tour at the kitchen?
If that makes you happy.
Yes.
Then please do.
Because again, you are not my servant. We made this mess. We clean it up.
All right. I will not interfere.
Then Alice
go.
would carry the stuff towards the sink. And then Dottie would have her hands in the sink cleaning.
Yes, that is true. She does clean it up. The next morning rolls around.
Yes.
Please make a roll for me.
Oh, God.
A D100.
Just a D100.
Yes, a power check, please.
A power check.
Okay.
87, so a fail.
Yes, you fail.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, do you... No. No, you're fine.
Good.
Do you make breakfast again?
Yes.
You make breakfast.
Just toast, because I'm quite sure she is tired.
Okay.
And the little, like, it's not really headache, but you drank a little bit too much last night.
What's your con? Oh, yes, I rolled a 98. Yes, you're not doing well.
That's why. Toast. Quick and easy. I will try coffee.
Okay.
And see if I can make it. Let's do a cooking again.
Okay.
No.
Yes,
it's coffee.
It is coffee, but actually, it's now really bitter because it is so strong. And Dottie's like, Alice, how about we'll just make a new?
No. I just put more milk in it. It will be fine.
You're not supposed to put milk in
I
mocha.
will put milk in it, and it's fine.
No.
We are not pouring that into the sink. You can make new one for yourself.
No, it's for you. You look terrible.
It will go away. I said red wine, right?
Okay, so we are invited tonight.
Yes.
I want you to take care of yourself for today.
I will. I just need a little bit of time to wake up and Everything needs to stop moving.
And you need to drink water.
Yes.
So she actually puts a jug of water on the
I
table.
will sip some of the water and I will inhale more coffee.
Okay, so do you want to do anything today, or will you just take it easy?
Well,
We've only just arrived.
we should stop at the market, at least to grab some Turkish delight, and I'm not sure if you need
I will handle this.
anything.
I will handle this.
else. Then I will just sit at the pool.
Yes, please do.
Join me if you want to afterwards.
I will come by.
Then Alice is doomed to sit at the pool.
Alice is doomed to sit at the pool. She does. About 3 hours later, Dottie comes by. How are you feeling?
Better.
Con check.
Probably. We will see.
Let me see.
Let me see. Yeah, much better with an
Good.
18. It's
Yeah,
hard
you do
success.
look better. She basically offers you. She's brought you some iced tea. Would you like some?
Yes, I hope she brought herself also.
Yes,
some.
no,
Yeah,
she's
okay.
got 2 glasses.
Yeah,
But if you don't want it, she would drink both of them.
No,
but
no,
if you,
no. I would drink it for sure.
You
I would also make sure that the. I want to say bench. It's not like that. How do you call it?
What is it that you're sitting on? Like
Die Sonnenliege. It's not a bench.
No, it's oh god, I know exactly what you mean. And I've forgotten the word.
Well, everyone knows what we mean. Where you lie at the pool.
What are they called?
In the sun.
Yeah, I will actually have to look this up.
It will come to us.
It will come to us
when
yeah.
we've done.
Yeah.
When we're done. And I would have made sure that the one next to me is free for Dottie, basically. Yeah. Should we just enjoy?
Yeah, and there is of course a parasol.
A parasol, clearly.
Interestingly enough, she says yes one moment, and she takes out sunglasses.
Good.
And you would say that she probably took some time picking them out because they actually look good.
Although she has taste, I know that. She's just not adventurous enough.
Yeah. And you basically have your tea. And she says, would you like some light lunch? I could make a salad.
We could also stay here and order something.
We could.
Then let's stay here and order something.
Let me take care of this. I've got to get a menu. And she gets up, she comes back with a menu, she hands it to you. And those are really like, those pool lunches, like really light things.
Like a club sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. With crisps.
Yeah.
With crisps.
Yeah, that would be the order.
So you have this.
Yeah.
And then the evening rolls around. And Pamela shows up. She would have left a note because she's going to spend the day, like catching up with friends. Yeah. That she knows in this city. And she would let you know that she would pick you up at 6:00, and she has ordered a cab, and you're going to go to Clarice's place. And then she, at 6:00, I mean, she is a very precise person, very much on time. She knocks, ready to go.
Yeah, and we are ready to go as well. So
you go there. It's a nice townhouse. It's actually quite big. And it is in this garden city.
Yeah.
Where
Island of Gizera.
No, Garden City is actually
Garden City. Okay,
the island of Gizera is really where they have lots of gardens. This part is actually just called the Garden City.
Garden City, okay.
And you really drive past lots of embassies, and official buildings. Main court is there. All of that. And a servant opens and says, "Please come in." And he leads you into the salon. Milady will be with you shortly. And true to his word, he leaves and he comes back. She comes back about 5 minutes later. She is probably around 40, 45. Very well preserved. Blonde, blue eyes. She looks very English, this English rose look. Tastefully dressed. Understated. But you notice as well that she has like a black band around her upper arm, so she is in mourning. And basically Pamela introduces you. The two of them kiss each other on both cheeks, and she says, "Oh, it's so good of you to come. I'm really glad to be able to take my mind off things. And then you are introduced, and
Well, really sorry for your loss, first of all. My condolences.
thank you.
Thank you for still having us over as guests, because Pamela is talking about you in the highest notes.
Yes, and Pamela has been telling me all about you as well. And I was looking forward to meeting you. I'm sorry that it is
Don't-
now under these
don't be
circumstances.
sorry.
It was quite unexpected.
It's not a circumstance you chose. We can just deal with what life throws at us.
Yes, we must, and we shall. And so you sit down
Yeah.
for lunch, for dinner, and then basically at some point the normal question is asked, so what is it that you do?
I am a private investigator.
And she says, really? That's interesting.
And Dottie is my partner.
And Dottie kind of like nods, kind of like she blushes. Whenever you say that, she just basically blushes, and then she plays with her food. And then after a while, Miss Clarice
There
says,
are too many male PIs out there that have no idea how to read people properly or behave properly, so we are quite busy to say. At least in New York, and now we're on vacation here, clearly.
well, so you're on vacation. That's a pity.
Well, if you have something to do, we can see what we can do.
And Pamela looks at her and she says to Clarice, you should really tell her.
Now I'm intrigued. How can we help?
Well, only if you're really, really interested and if it isn't inconveniencing you.
Just give me a second. Alice will pull out her handbag, would pull out her notebook and a pen. Listen.
As you know, my father passed away.
Yes.
My father is also, or was, one of the biggest book collectors in Cairo.
Mm-hmm.
He has been corresponding with booksellers across Europe, the United States, as far away as India. He always envisaged, well, one of his biggest gripes with history is the fact that the Library of Alexandria burnt down. You know how book lovers always say, well, what do I really don't like? Well, I don't like it when one of my first editions has water stains, or when you get books from the same publisher in a series of books and then they are different sizes. And of course, the one time that the Library of Alexandria burnt down.
Yes.
So my father has decided I should say, that he was going to recreate it as far as he could. So he has been collecting books all his life.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in the army, so he was stationed very far afield.
Mm-hmm.
I myself was born in the Raj. Well, then we came here. And he has been collecting books in all kinds of languages, because he said in Alexandria they collected every single piece of written scripture, and it didn't matter if they could read it or not. They wanted to preserve it, and they wanted to ensure that those people who could read it
had the chance to
do it. Right. And his library is basically the whole second floor of this house. But I've noticed that books have been gone missing. Books have been going missing ever since he died. Now, before he died, he got a visit, several visits, should I say, from one of the booksellers here in Cairo. And I don't know, maybe this person was trying to buy something from him, and my father declined. And now that he's dead, he's taking a chance. The thing is, I don't know. The first I noticed was because after my father had died, of course, I went to Britain with his body. And when I came back and I looked at the library, I noticed that some books were not where they should be. And I started looking, but I couldn't find them.
Yeah.
So I thought, maybe my father had placed them somewhere else. So I kept looking, but I couldn't find them at all. But I'm pretty sure that they should be here. Now, those are 5 books that are missing. Since then, I've noticed that 6 more are gone as well. I don't know when, but I really doubt that my father would have sold them. So I believe it may have been the book merchant. But I have no proof.
Then let's figure it out. He hasn't visited you after your father passed.
Not yet. Which, of course, is an indication, isn't it?
It kind of is, because usually, especially when the owner dies, the others that are interested in swoop in and try to, like, you don't have to take care of this. It would be in much better hands than our and. So it's suspicious, to say it nicely.
You see, the books that are missing, 2 of them are quite rare. The other ones, not so much, but I know that my father really liked them. So 2 of them may have some monetary value. Not much. If I were to sell them, I wouldn't get rich. It's not like this is a Gutenberg Bible. But it's more the point that somebody took them, and they're not theirs. They're my father's. And they were supposed to be in this house. They were supposed to be available to those who seek knowledge to read them. And now they're not.
Then we will find out who has them and bring the books back.
That would make a huge difference to me.
Then I would have a few questions. Do you know what the books are about? So we need a list as best as you can of which books are missing, so that we can find out.
We've got a full catalogue.
Then that would be the one thing. The other thing is, I would obviously want to have a look around, because the question is, how do they get in, grab, and how do they get out? The other topic is, your servants trustworthy, or anyone we should check out?
There is not many. There is our cook. She's been in the family even when we were still in India, when she was only a slip of a girl, 16 years old. So she came back with us. Then of course there's my father's Batman. Heinz. He was with him in the army. They were stationed together. So, and when my father was discharged, he kept him on. I doubt that he would be stealing from us.
It doesn't sound like it.
And then, of course, we've got 3 more servants. They're local, but they've been with the family for over a decade at this stage. And we've never had any issue with anything going awry, going amiss. We've never had to even let anyone go. I believe we pay quite well. They can all live in the house or live in the city. It's up to them. And one of them was in Britain with me anyway. So unless they sent somebody in while they were gone, which I highly doubt, I would say no. But of course, you never know. I mean, the point is just maybe for the right price, or maybe somebody did break in. The problem is we didn't find anything.
Then we will have a look at the breaking in part, just to think the best of your servants, but we might need to talk to them just to
you can talk to them. It's
check in and see if there's any reason, because usually it is money. So let's see. So when we're done here, it would be lovely to have a look around.
And you can see, I mean, her face, there's a light that goes on in her face that obviously she really likes showing the library. And she says, of course, after dessert.
And the last question would be the book merchant. Do you have a name, or how he looks, or where to get?
Yeah. So she gives you an address in the Fagala, and his name is... I should have worn my reading glasses. His name is Karim al-Malika. Maliki, sorry, Karim al-Maliki.
Okay.
And And she will also tell you that he is quite a famous book merchant. He has lots of connections around the globe, and he sells books basically to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And also that her father would have bought from him.
Mm-hmm.
So there has been a prior
yeah.
connection there. And then and then you have, interestingly enough, mostly it seems like desserts here contain some sort of fruit.
Yeah.
And then you have your dessert, and then you have sherry
And a Turkish delight.
and a Turkish delight, and then she takes it to the library, and we will visit this in 2 weeks. Looking at the clock.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
So that was Captivating Cairo.
Yeah, so getting warmed up. Next case. I'm sorry, daughter, we are not on vacation anymore.
So Captivating Cairo, and we hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoyed it too.
I love it. You know, we are both quite crazy excited for Egypt. So
Yes, we are. And yeah, so we will see what happens when you go to the library.
looking forward what we find and how it's done. So everyone, take care and see
Yes,
you
and keep
around
safe.
in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks. Have a lovely rest of the evening. Well, rest of the
Bye.
evening is good.